The Masonic origins of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood, Masonic Brotherhood really, is part of the Western Illuminati. Do not be taken for a ride. The Masonic origins of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Masonic origins of the Islamists' movements, and their true goal to undermine Islam and fight for Western Zionist powers such as Britain and the United States of America. The Muslim Brotherhood has acted as a clever technique to recruit agent provocateurs for the Illuminati. The lowest ranks may sincerely believe they are defending Islam, and confronting Western imperialism. However, these various terrorist groups, through representing different factions, are part of a single network serving the same Illuminati cause. When we explore the political and financial connections of the terrorists, we find that these are not merely wayward fanatics, operating in isolation, but that their channels penetrate to the upper reaches of power, in the British and American governments, and outward into the nether regions of the occult and criminal underworlds. William and Darlon Egypt's uprising. They are being organized in a Ukrainian-style high-tech electronic fashion with large internet-linked networks of youth tied to Mohammed el-Baradei and the banned and murky secret Muslim Brotherhood, whose links to British and American intelligence and Freemasonry are widely reported. Muslim Brotherhood created by British intelligence. Dr. John Coleman, a former British intelligence agent, states in his report on Iran's Islamic Revolution that the Muslim Brotherhood was created by the great names of British Middle East intelligence and that their mission was to keep the Middle East backward so that its natural resource, oil, could continue to be looted. The Muslim Brotherhood is a London creation, forged as the standard-bearer of an ancient, anti-religious, pagan heresy that has plagued Islam since the establishment of the Islamic community, Ummah, by the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century. Representing organized Islamic fundamentalism, the organization called the Muslim Brotherhood, Ikhwan al-Muslimin in Arabic, was officially founded in Egypt, in 1929, by the British agent Hussein al-Banna, a Sufi mystic. Today, the Muslim Brotherhood is the umbrella under which a host of fundamentalist Sufi, Sunni, and radical Shiite brotherhoods in societies flourish. The Muslim Brotherhood is a tool by the British-based globalists whose main objective is to overthrow the established world order and create a new one-world system of global governance. Without the British, radical Islam would have remained the illegitimate, repressive minority movement that it has always been, and the Middle East would have remained stable and prosperous. The real Muslim Brothers are the secretive bankers and financiers who stand behind the curtain, the members of the old Arab, Turkish, or Persian families whose genealogy places them in the oligarchic elite, with smooth business and intelligence associations to the European black nobility and, especially, to the British oligarchy. By fabricating a bogus war between Islamic fundamentalism and the West, the globalists are able to attack their real enemy, humanity. Pulling the strings, they will ensure that both Western and Muslim states are degraded and finally completely subjugated to their odious rule. Why is the Western Illuminati fomenting revolution in the Middle East to overthrow their own puppets and install the Muslim Brotherhood? It cannot be for peace. If they want peace, they will continue with their existing puppets. The real agenda is the Satanic World War III plan. They intend to trigger their greater Middle East war in which the Muslim Middle East and Zionist 666 Israel, the satanic counterfeit, will be destroyed. They want to destroy the two major religions opposed to 666, Islam and Christianity. Many Christian sheeple will fall when they see Zionist 666 Israel destroyed. King Abdullah II of Jordan come from the original ruling class of the Hashemite kingdom which ruled what is modern-day Saudi Arabia. They were the ones overseeing the Muslim holy places of Mecca and Medina for many centuries before the British gave Saudi Arabia to the Jewish House of Saud and displaced them. Albert Pike's Satanic World War III plan. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agenture of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual and economical exhaustion. More. Jordan on the brink, Muslim brothers mobilize for King Abdullah's overthrow. Jordan's Muslim Brotherhood has given King Abdullah II notice that he has until October to bow to their demand to transform the Hashemite kingdom into a constitutional monarchy or face Arab Spring street pressure for his abdication. Debka Files Middle East sources report that Israeli and Saudi intelligence watchers are becoming increasingly concerned about the approaching climax of the conflict in Oman between Islamists and the throne. For Israel, an upheaval in Jordan bodes the tightening of the Islamist noose around its borders, Egypt and Libya to the south and Syria to the north, with unpredictable consequences with regard to Jordan's Palestinian population. Saudi Arabia, already threatened by Iranian aggression, fears the oil kingdom may be next in line if its northern neighbor is crushed under the marching feet of the Arab Spring. The oil kingdom's royal rulers are reported to have belatedly woken up to the peril and are in a panic. They realized that their preoccupation with helping Syrian rebels overthrow Bashar Assad misdirected their attention from the enemies lurking at their own door. Thousands of articles in the Arab press in the past year have predicted that after the Muslim Brotherhood seizes power in Damascus, Amman would be next in its sights, followed by Riyadh. The latest Debkanet Weekly of September 21 analyzed the plight closing in on the Jordanian monarch and outlined three of his options. 1. He could bow to the main Muslim Brotherhood's demand by submitting to the kingdom's transition to a constitutional monarchy and the transfer of executive power to an MB-led government by means of the electoral reforms for which the brothers have been pushing for years. In Jordan as in Egypt, the brothers hope for a two-third majority in a free election. 2. He could stand up to the Brotherhood's demands and order his security, intelligence and military forces to crack down on the opposition. This course carries the risk of plunging Jordan into the carnage of civil war among the diverse segments of the population. The biggest dangers come from the Bedouin tribes, whose traditional allegiance to the Hashemite throne has weakened in recent years, and the Palestinians who form 60% of the population. 3. He could seek to negotiate a compromise through various brokers. Our sources report that several attempts at mediation have been ventured of late, but got nowhere because the Muslim Brotherhood sent its most radical leaders to the table and they left very little margin for compromise. According to sources at the royal court, Abdullah will very soon meet with MB leaders for a personal appeal for calm after years of heated debate. Most observers believe that he has left it too late and by now the Muslim Brotherhood has got the bit between its teeth. Indeed, according to an internal memorandum leaked to the Al-Hayat newspaper, the MB has already set a date for mass demonstrations against the king to start on October 10 and ordered its members to go to work at once to mobilize at least 50,000 demonstrators for daily protests against the king and the royal family until he bows to their will. The memorandum states, every member must be dedicated to communicate with his relatives, close friends, acquaintances, fellow employees and various Islamic groups and patriots. It calls for the formation of hotbeds to focus on the participation of groups affiliated with universities, schools and women's organizations. Protesters are also advised on tactics for overcoming a security crackdown. Jordan's Muslim Brotherhood has therefore moved forward from opposition propaganda, debating and political pressure to activism against the throne. Both Jordanian camps are anxiously watching to see which way the wind blows in the White House. President Barack Obama has a balancing act to resolve. On the one hand, the Jordanian king has long been a staunch American ally and friend, its mainstay in many regional crises. On the other, Obama regards the Muslim Brotherhood as the linchpin of his external policy of outreach to the Muslim world. Muslim Brotherhood created by British intelligence. Dr. John Coleman, a former British intelligence agent, states in his report on Iran's Islamic Revolution that the Muslim Brotherhood was created by the great names of British Middle East intelligence and that their mission was to keep the Middle East backward so that its natural resource, oil, could continue to be looted. The Muslim Brotherhood is a London creation, forged as the standard-bearer of an ancient, anti-religious, pagan heresy that has plagued Islam since the establishment of the Islamic community, Ummah, by the Prophet Muhammad in the 7th century. Representing organized Islamic fundamentalism, the organization called the Muslim Brotherhood, Ikhwan al-Muslimin in Arabic, was officially founded in Egypt, in 1929, by the British agent Hussein al-Banna, a Sufi mystic. Today, the Muslim Brotherhood is the umbrella under which a host of fundamentalist Sufi, Sunni, and radical Shiite brotherhoods in societies flourish. The Muslim Brotherhood is a tool by the British-based globalists whose main objective is to overthrow the established world order and create a new one-world system of global governance. Without the British, radical Islam would have remained the illegitimate, repressive minority movement that it has always been, and the Middle East would have remained stable and prosperous. The real Muslim Brothers are the secretive bankers and financiers who stand behind the curtain, the members of the old Arab, Turkish, or Persian families whose genealogy places them in the oligarchic elite, with smooth business and intelligence associations to the European black nobility and, especially, to the British oligarchy. By fabricating a bogus war between Islamic fundamentalism and the West, the globalists are able to attack their real enemy, humanity. Pulling the strings, they will ensure that both Western and Muslim states are degraded and finally completely subjugated to their odious rule. The globalists have long been using wars to subvert, demoralize and destroy Western civilization. They plan a new feudalism that will impoverish the middle classes, depopulate and enslave the masses, and leave only the rich served by a technocracy. The whole world will resemble a repressive third world country governed by the IMF, UN and World Bank. The globalists are headquartered in London and centered on the Rothschild-dominated Bank of England, MI6 and the secretive Round Table Society, which spawned the Royal Institute of International Affairs. President Nasser violently abolished Freemasonry in 1961, having it been well and truly established in Egypt since at least 1798, the days of Napoleon's exhibition, to the demise of the Masonic movement that ended in disrepute and chaos in 1922, that then in turn led to the establishment of the Muslim Brotherhood, MB, founded in 1928, and that despite it being banned time and time again, has still survived and is present in almost all Middle Eastern countries. The Muslim Brotherhood, MB, started off as a social organization, preaching Islam, teaching the illiterate, what the USA via the CIA done in Afghanistan for many years, setting up hospitals, the Jesuits and Shriners come to mind, and even launched commercial enterprises. Sounds like the kind of activity the Rotary Club and Lions Club specialize in. Then as the MB continued to rise in influence, starting in 1936, it began to oppose British rule in Egypt. Many Egyptian nationalists accuse the MB of violent killings during this period. After the 1948 Arab defeat in the First Arab-Israeli War, the Egyptian government dissolved the organization and arrested its members. Its founder Hussein al-Banna was assassinated. After the Egyptian coup of 1952, which was supported by the MB, it was once again banned and repressed. Though the Brotherhood spread to other countries, it was suppressed too. In 1982, Syria violently crushed a Brotherhood revolt, the Hama massacre. Starting in the 1980s it entered Egypt's political arena, forming alliances with other parties, and fielding independent candidates, if such a thing is possible. When in 2005, the MB won 20% of the seats, Hosni Mubarak cracked down on the group. As of 2011, the MB took an active part in the Egyptian protests, and are no doubt pulling the strings today in its present negotiations. It's interesting to note that Samir Rafat wrote an article in the Insight magazine, on the 1st of March 1999, titled, Freemasonry in Egypt. Is it still around? Here's a tiny extract. On the 4th of April 1964, the Masonic Temple on Alexandria's Toussaint Street was shut down by order of the Ministry of Social Affairs. The reason: associations with undeclared agendas were incompatible with rules covering non-profit organizations. Sufficiently disturbing evidence for the state to be concerned about Freemasonry's political goals would turn up the following year in Damascus when master spy Eli Cohen was apprehended. Having eluded Syrian intelligence for many years posing as an Arab, it was discovered that Eli had been a Freemason in Egypt where he was born. Yet despite the 1964 decree declaring the demise of Freemasonry in Egypt, loud cries of "not so" can still be heard. And if one were to concede to that Freemasonry was on the demise, then Ahmed Abdullah's book, Freemasonry in Our Region 1985, highlights Freemasonry is alive and well in the guise of Rotary clubs and other like-minded associations. Having accomplished their earlier mission to establish a Jewish state, Masonic conspirators now intend to undermine Islam using charity work and community outreach as their tools, says Abdullah in his opening chapter. He then consecrates a substantial portion of his elusive writing equating the new Masonic cancer with Rotary and Lions organizations and with Jehovah's Witness, Freedom Now, Solar Tradition, New Age and several other fringe organizations. Some Muslim anti-Masons argue that Freemasonry promotes the interests of the Jews around the world and that one of its aims is to rebuild the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem after destroying the Al-Aqsa Mosque. In Article 28 of its covenant, Hamas states that Freemasonry, Rotary, and other similar groups work in the interest of Zionism and according to its instructions. 3. Many countries with a significant Muslim population do not allow Masonic establishments within their jurisdictions. However, countries such as Egypt, Tunisia, Turkey and Morocco have established Grand Lodges, while in countries such as Malaysia and Lebanon there are district Grand Lodges operating under a warrant from an established Grand Lodge. The Muslim Brotherhood in Kuwait is represented in the Kuwaiti Parliament by Hadas. In Algeria in the early 1990s, the MB formed the Movement for the Society of Peace, MSP previously known as Hamas, by Mahfoud Nana until his death in 2003 and succeeded by the present party leader Bouadjira Sultani, who is a member of Algeria's three-party coalition government. In Bahrain, the MB is represented by the Al-Islah Society and its political wing, the Al-Menbar Islamic Society. In 2002, Al-Menbar became the joint largest party, and has generally backed government-sponsored legislation on economic issues, but has sought to clamp down on pop concerts, sorcery, and soothsayers. It has strongly opposed the government's accession to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights on the grounds that this would give Muslim citizens the right to change religion, when in the party's view they should have their heads chopped off. The Iraqi Islamic Party was formed in 1960 as the Iraqi branch of the MB, but was banned from 1961, though post-Saddam Hussein regime in 2003, the Islamic Party have re-emerged as one of the main advocates of the country's Sunni community. In the north of Iraq there are several Islamic movements inspired by or part of the MB network. The Kurdistan Islamic Union, KU, holds seats in the Kurdish parliament, as is the main political force outside the dominance of the two main secularist parties, the PUK and KDP. In Jordan, it's viewed by some that the MB is playing an active role in the recent uprisings in several Arab countries, for example, at a rally held outside the Egyptian embassy in Amman on the 29th of January 2011 with some 100 participants. Hammam Saeed, head of the MB of Jordan, said, "Egypt's unrest will spread across the Mideast and Arabs will topple leaders allied with the United States." In Iraq, Masonic lodges existed as early as 1919, when the first lodge under the Ughal was opened in Basra, and later on when the country was under British mandate just after the First World War. However, the position changed in July 1958 following the revolution, with the abolition of the monarchy and Iraq being declared a republic, under General Qasem. The licenses permitting lodges to meet were rescinded and later laws were introduced banning any further meetings. This position was later reinforced under Saddam Hussein. The death penalty was prescribed for those who promote or acclaim Zionist principles, including Freemasonry, or who associate themselves with Zionist organizations. With the fall of the Hussein government in 2003, a number of lodges have begun to meet on military bases within Iraq. These lodges primarily cater to British and American military units, but a few have initiated Iraqis. Several Grand Lodges have expressed a desire to charter lodges with completely Iraqi membership in the near future. And as I've already pointed out, Freemasonry has a long history and well-established base throughout the Middle East. In Syria, and according to the recent leaked American cables, via WikiLeaks, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad allegedly called Hamas an uninvited guest and said, "If you want me to be effective and active, I have to have a relationship with all parties. Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood, but we have to deal with the reality of their presence." This comparison of Hamas to that of the Syrian Muslim Brotherhood, which was crushed by his father Hafez al-Assad in 1982, and then allegedly claiming Hamas would disappear if peace were brought to the Middle East. 5. So in effect is saying that peace in the Middle East will come about if the Muslim Brotherhood was no longer on the scene. In Saudi Arabia, the MB has been tolerated by the Saudi government, and maintains a presence in the country. Though according to a Washington Post report on the 11th of September 2004, Saudi Interior Minister Prince Naif denounced the MB, saying it is guilty of betrayal of pledges and ingratitude and is the source of all problems in the Islamic world. In Somalia, the wing of the MB is known by the name Harakat al-Allah, or the Reform Movement. The leaders of Harakat al-Allah played a key role in the educational network and establishing Mogadishu University. Through their network, they've educated more than 120,000 students in the city of Mogadishu. In Sudan, and until the election of Hamas in Gaza, it was the one country where the MB was most successful in gaining power, its members making up a large part of the government officialdom following the 1989 coup d'état by General Omar Hassan al-Bashir. The Sudanese Muslim Brotherhood's views were highlighted in a television interview on 3 August 2007 on Al Jazeera TV by their leader Sheikh Said Qibla bin al-Majd, who said, "The West, and the Americans in particular, are behind all the tragedies that are taking place in Darfur." 124. In Palestine, following the Hamas takeover of the Gaza Strip in 2007, it was the first time since the above-mentioned Sudanese coup of 1989, that a Muslim Brotherhood group ruled a significant geographic region and territory. In Libya, it was one of the first countries outside Egypt to have a Brotherhood group. In the late 1940s, when the Egyptian members were being prosecuted, King Idris I of Libya offered the MB refuge and the freedom to spread their ideology. In 1955, the University of Libya was established in Benghazi, near the Egyptian border, and it drew many Egyptian teachers and lecturers, including MB members. Not long after coming to power, Colonel Gaddafi regarded the MB a potential source of opposition. He arrested many Egyptian brothers and expelled them back to Egypt. It's alleged in 1973, the security services arrested and tortured members of the Libyan Brotherhood, banning the organization and forcing it underground. On the 2nd of March 2006, the Libyan government released 132 members of the MB that were held as political prisoners.